20 years ago, I was standing in a dealership, almost ready to write a check for a bike I thought I actually liked. But before I could, a salesperson and a group of seasoned riders told me I was looking at a girl's bike. In that moment, I realized something that is true today as it was then. The biggest threat to motorcycling isn't gas prices, it isn't regulations, it isn't electric bikes, and it definitely isn't younger generations losing interest. It's gatekeeping. Now, maybe some people would laugh that off. Maybe some guys would just double down and try to prove themselves. But standing there, something clicked in my head that has stayed with me for 20 years. It's this idea that some riders have that there's only one right way to ride, one real kind of motorcycle, one acceptable image. And honestly, I think that mindset is driving people away before they ever even start. Today, I want to talk about why I stopped listening to those voices, why riding for other people nearly ruined motorcycling for me, and how I finally started ignoring the gatekeepers, and that helped me to find the freedom I was looking for all along. Back then, I was entering my 40s. I had just started a new job in a new location, basically alone and surrounded by strangers. I was starting a new life, and if you're older, you probably understand this feeling. At some point in life, you start becoming aware of your image, how people see you, whether you fit that role. I felt the need to become the next version of me, whatever that means. I guess older, respected, and slightly less of the rambunctious type. The need to fit in was clawing at me. That's when the noise started creeping in. When you're searching for something only you can find, people start filling in the blanks for you, whether you ask them to or not. The subject of motorcycle choice is no different. They'll tell you that you need something with power, you need a real bike, you need something people respect. They'll say you're too old for that bike, you'll outgrow it, that brand's garbage, or that engine's too small. And suddenly you realize you're not shopping for your happiness anymore, you're shopping for approval. That's the trap. And the crazy thing is, everybody becomes an expert the second you mention motorcycles. Coworkers, neighbors, anyone on the internet, people who haven't ridden in 10 years all suddenly become motorcycle philosophers. And every opinion slowly starts drowning out your own instincts. I remember sitting there wondering, what am I supposed to ride? Not what do I want to ride? That distinction matters more than people realize, because the entire point of motorcycling is freedom. That's the whole thing, that's the magic. You throw a leg over the bike for a little while and the world quiets down. The stress fades, the pressure fades. The expectations disappear. But when you start riding to impress others, you lose that freedom. I still remember walking into that dealership. It was impressive. Rows of chrome everywhere. Big touring bikes lined up like battleships. Leather jackets, bandanas. They even had a grill and a live band outside. But there, in the middle of all of that, there was this one bike that I had come to see in person. It wasn't massive, it wasn't trying to intimidate anybody, but it was a motorcycle that was blending the very things that excited me about motorcycles. I could actually picture myself riding it. As I browsed around the showroom, I didn't want to approach that bike immediately. I wanted to get the feel of the room. I saw two guys walk up to it and begin talking. As I approached, I heard one guy smirked and said, "That's a girl's bike." Another one chimed in, "You'll want a real bike in 6 months." The funny part was, one of these guys was a salesman. When I asked about the bike, he said much the same as I had just heard. It was a decent starter bike. And from there, the salesman went on and started steering me towards bigger and more expensive bikes, heavier bikes. And the weirdest part, for a second, it worked. I started second guessing myself. I remember looking back at that bike I originally liked almost apologetically, like I'd done something embarrassing. And then something hit me. These guys didn't know me. They don't know how I ride. They don't know what world would make me happy. They don't know what kind of roads I liked. They didn't know what kind of freedom I was searching for. They were just enforcing stupid, arbitrary rules handed down from the other insecure riders before them. That's all gatekeeping really is. Insecurity dressed up as expertise. And right there in that dealership, I had a mental shift. I realized, if I buy a motorcycle based on someone else's approval, then every mile I ride after that belongs to them, not me. And I was done with that. That moment changed the way I look at motorcycles forever. Because the truth is, a motorcycle is very personal. It's not a group identity. It's not a costume. It's not a tribal membership card. It's a machine that connects you to the road and your dreams. That's it. And the second you stop caring about the approval of gatekeepers, riding becomes fun again. Real. Not performative fun. Not ego fun. Freedom. Honestly, I think the problem is worse now than it used to be, because younger riders are entering a culture that sometimes feel hostile before they even buy their first bike. You see it all over the internet. That's not a real motorcycle. You need at least 1,000 cc's. Sport bikes aren't real. Cruisers are slow. Adventure bikes are for old men. Automatic transmissions are cheating. Electric motorcycles aren't real motorcycles. It never ends. And meanwhile, somebody brand new to riding is sitting there thinking, maybe this community isn't for me. That's tragic, because every experienced rider was once a beginner. Every single one. Nobody came out of the womb dragging they through corners. Nobody started on a giant touring bike crossing 3 states in a thunderstorm. We all started somewhere. And the reality is, most people have no clue what is right for you. How could they? Most riders just want something that makes them excited to ride after work on a Tuesday afternoon. That should be enough. Instead of acting like bouncers at a gate, old riders should become mentors, encouragers, the wise voice saying, hey, ride what makes you happy. Because the future of motorcycling doesn't survive through gatekeeping. It survives through enthusiasm, through encouragement, through making people feel like they belong. If somebody buys a small bike and falls in love with riding, that's a win. If somebody buys a scooter and starts exploring their town, that's a win. If somebody rides electric, that's still a rider. 2 wheels or 3, open road, freedom. That's the connection. And if we forget that, we lose the soul of this whole thing. You know, the bike I was looking at that day was the Harley-Davidson V-Rod. I had fallen for its blending of muscle, sport, and cruiser vibe, but it was not to be. 2 weeks after I walked out that door, I brought home the bike I should have looked at first. My Yamaha FZ1. So here's the biggest lesson I've learned after all those years. If it has 2 wheels and it makes you smile, it's the right damn bike. Not the internet's bike, not the dealership's bike, not the old guy at the gas station's bike. Your bike. Ride because it clears your head. Ride because it makes you feel alive. Ride because for 1 hour, the world finally shuts up. That's what matters. And honestly, the second I stopped trying to fit into motorcycle culture was the moment I became a better, happier rider. Because freedom starts the moment you stop asking strangers for permission to enjoy your own life. So now I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever dealt with gatekeepers in the motorcycle world? Did somebody ever tell you your bike wasn't real enough? Or maybe you almost talked yourself out of a bike you love because of somebody else's opinion? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Hey, and if this video resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.